welcome to Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley, and today I want to talk about something that's not really talked about or seen much these days. Although these things were very important in our church's history, right up really until almost until Vatican II. And I'm talking about relics. Relics are remnants of saints. In fact, it comes from the Latin word reliquus, which means left behind. So relics played a really important role in our church's history as a way to connect us to people who have gone before us. So the remnants of these saints, and in the early church, they were martyrs. And in the catacombs, for instance, Christians would worship. They would have their Eucharistic feast in the catacombs, literally on the graves, on the relics of martyrs who had died before them. One of the reasons in the Catholic Church, they always had a relic in every altar in the Catholic Church throughout the world. That practice stopped after Vatican II, so in the middle 1960s. So if you attend a church that was built or renovated since 1965, chances are your altar does not have a relic. But that was one of the things that was very important, was to remind ourselves of the suffering of our faith, the martyrdom in the early church. The blood of the martyrs is seed for the church. And so our faith grew because of these people, and the relics reminded us of them. But the church makes a distinction between three different types of relics, and they're very creatively named: first, second, and third class relics. A first class relic would be anything that would be a body part of the saint. So that could be bone, hair, fingernail, blood on a bandage. Any of those would be first class relic, and they're very important because it's a part of that saint. A second class relic would be something they wore. So a shirt, a nun's habit, shoes, a cloak, a robe. Any of those things would be second class relics. Third class relic would be, and there are a lot more of them you could imagine. Third class relic would be anything that the saint touched. So a pencil, a desk, a book. These are things that are in plenty supply because the saint obviously probably touched a lot of things throughout their lifetime. So we have first, second, and third class relics. And these were important, especially as we go through the Middle Ages, all up into just about our own time, because people wanted to feel a connection to God, and they wanted to have that sense of belonging. And relics were one of the ways that could happen. So, we can imagine before Vatican II in the 1960s, the priest had his back to the congregation. The words were said in Latin, oftentimes without microphones, so they might not be easy to hear. So a lot of the faithful throughout the centuries would pray their own devotions. They would have a rosary, or they would bring their relics. And again, this was a way to make them feel connected to God, to the divine. And so relics took on a very big role that way. We know in the High Middle Ages, relics were so important, people would pay money. They would travel and pay money to venerate relics. And that money was oftentimes put back into the building of these churches. And so some of the great cathedrals throughout Europe were built because of the industry, if you will, of the veneration of relics. Now, last thing I want to say about this before we get kind of creeped out by the idea of relics, I would suggest that if you think of any major sports star, somebody who is really well known, like a LeBron James, if he was to go to a mall or to a public place and offer to sign his autograph on paper, I'll bet he could probably get $40, $50 a signature. And I would further bet that there would be people lined up for a long time and wait to get that signature. And they'd pay for the right to have that signature, just for that ink stain on a piece of paper, because LeBron James, in this case, would be a hero for them. We look oftentimes to our sports stars, to our celebrities as heroes. And that is no different in our history, in our church's history. We looked at saints as heroes, and we wanted a piece of that. And we wanted to feel like we were part of something and a way to be connected to God. And so when we think about getting an athlete's autograph, we somehow feel closer to them. We're connected to the team. We're part of the team. And so it's a very similar kind of mentality that's going on with the collection of relics relative to collection of autographs today. I hope this has helped. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. In the meantime, be good to each other, and God bless.